And the words really sank into my heart. So I invite you to let your body sink in wherever you are. These bodies that are not an afterthought, these bodies that are our unrepeatable houses of spirit within. Our bodies through which we learn all this joy, all this sorrow, all this promise, all this pain. We sink into these bodies and let our breath, that is the breath of being, the breath of spirit, the breath of life, fill us. Bring us fully into this moment, such as it is, in all its beauty, in all its fullness, in all its loveness. And we sink together into the quiet that holds the stillness, that is never fully still because it holds the rising and falling of our own bodies with our breath. But we let our body soften into stillness. Letting those gentle notes of music drift into us. Lifting our hearts and minds, bringing our hearts and minds inward. World of joy, world of sorrows, world of promise, world of pain, such is life. Such as being. Such is spirit. Such is love. In the shelter of the love of each other, the love of the Holy One who resides in each of us, we come back fully into this moment, into this space, into this shelter. Where we behold the love that we house here, in this space that we make holy by our attention, by our presence, by our love. And so it is. I'm going to start by reading the lyrics of that song that we just sang together earlier. In the shelter of each other, in the shelter of our lives, we are open, we are dreaming, we are hopeful, we are wise. You know that many times the pain of the world crashes in, we feel angry and afraid. We start to lose our sense of hope, our sense of direction. Isolation, we have learned, will not bring much in return if we truly cannot learn to live as one. You know that many times the pain of the world crashes in. We feel broken and betrayed. We start to lose our sense of joy, our sense of connection. And though our history remains, it's our actions we must change. If we hope to heal our planet, we know that we must stand in the shelter of each other. That could really be all I need to say today. But I have more. So I'm going to ask you again, where do you find shelter? Where do you offer shelter? How do you offer shelter? The heart listening sessions, the two that we've had so far, have been so fruitful in revealing what is alive in this community, in the shelter of this community right now at this moment. We had one on Zoom so far and one in person, and they were fruitful, and about 27 or 28 people were able to attend combined in those two. And so I was inspired because they were so fruitful to really offer two more. The one in person this Thursday is on Thursday because I will be spending many, many hours on Zoom this week on my classes, and I'm going to really need some 3D people. So come on Thursday night at 6:30, and we'll start with some meditation and really share how we appreciate what's happening in this community and what we want to see grow, to appreciate the soil of what has been, and dream into the future. And then the following week, we'll be back on Zoom only on Wednesday evening. So that is in place of, in many ways, the regular meditation, because we'll meditate and then morph right on into those small group sharings. But what has come through so far, the big themes, is we have a desire to deepen and strengthen our connections with each other, with God, with Spirit, and to find creative ways to meet the needs of who's coming in our doors right now. How are we growing that sense of connection and depth and community right here on a weekly basis through the amazing activities and events that we have, which are many. I love actually how long it takes the announcements to go through these days. It's a sign of the life of our community right now. The other theme that came through is a desire for outreach. Who in our community might be feeling isolated? Elders who can't get here in person. Dennis and the people who meet on Thursday mornings on that prayer hour, do that as a ministry to a beloved who can only dial in, but it keeps Jean connected. And what a gift that is. Are there others out there in our community who need our outreach? Are there folks who have not been seen in a while that might appreciate a phone call to say, we miss you. How's life? Come back if you feel called, but you're always welcome. And we feel a deep desire to welcome in under this shelter the people we recognize in our own lives who are hungry for what we find here. Connection, friendship. We know that there are so many places in the world where that is not what's happening. So how do we invite that to grow? We have a continued desire in this community to keep learning, to keep studying. And that is the Unity teachings, but it is also a wide range of spiritual teachers and offerings that feed us. That is so apparent in where we are and where we want to go. So how do we build that shelter here, where we shelter with our family that we've created here, that we build those loving friendships, that we build easy ways to have fun together. Laughter is carbonated holiness. Thank you, Anne Lamott. We grow laughter. We stand with each other when we have tears. We walk through all of those joys and sorrows together. So how do we continue to grow that? How do we deepen our own prayer lives, our connection to the divine within? How do we see the divine everywhere we look, not only where it is easy? I came across an article in my perusing this week from the Unity Archives. It was written by James Dillett Freeman about the birth and evolution of the beloved prayer for protection. So I'm going to read a little bit from that. He wrote, Silent Unity has always written a special Christmas prayer service just for Silent Unity workers. And in 1940, I was asked to prepare this service. With World War II raging in Europe, we had received many letters and phone calls from people caught in the conflict, asking for a prayer for protection. In 1940, I wrote a little 4-line verse to go with the Christmas service. The light of Christ directs me. The love of Christ enfolds me. The power of Christ protects me. The presence of Christ upholds me. He continues, I had hardly finished this Christmas service before Silent Unity asked me to write a protection pamphlet that was titled His Protecting Spirit, with affirmative prayers for protection on the back page. Among these was the verse from the 23rd Psalm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. The King James Version, Dennis. You're going to appreciate this next part a real lot if you haven't heard this part already. One of the young women who worked in Silent Unity was reading my manuscript as I wrote it, and as she finished it, she came up to me and said, Jim, if I were a woman in England and they were dropping bombs on my roof, or if I were a soldier and someone was pointing a loaded gun at me, I wouldn't want to feel I was walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Can't you do better? I thought, you want me to do better than the 23rd Psalm? You have to be out of your mind. But rolling around in the back of my mind was the little verse I had written as a prayer for protection at Christmas. I had written it just for Silent Unity, but now it came rolling up to the front of my mind and demanded I pay attention to it. It enticed me to see, enticed me. I love that he used that word. It enticed me to see what I could make of it. The little prayer became, the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me. And that was the way it was first printed. Then a line came to him that would make that prayer even more powerful. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is. There is our shelter. God, the name we give the blanket that we put over the mystery to give it shape. God, the unnameable, the omni-nameable, that sacred source of all life is where we find our shelter. In 2024 here in Albany, we are fortunate not to have bombs raging overhead, as many of our siblings do across the sea. Yet it is clear we live in a time when many of us recognize the perils of this age in our own country. The divides, the fears, the anger. It is impossible to ignore it. It is impossible to deny that it is there. What is it about our humanness that makes us forget that we are one in the shelter of the Holy One beyond all names? It's something in our humanness that continually makes us forget our divineness and the divine essence of all beings. As I prepare for this week of study, I've been reading Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. Here's a little bit from Lesson 1. We have come to a place now where our search for truth must be our living a life. Every right thought we think, every unselfish word or action is bound by immutable laws to be fraught with good results. How about that, fraught? I am an English teacher by background. I love the word fraught. With good results. But in our walk, we must learn to lose sight of those results. Ooh. Every right action, every right thought is fraught with good results, but we must learn to lose sight of the results. That's juicy. We must rather seek to be the truth consciously, to be love, to be wisdom, to be life as we really are unconsciously, and let results take care of themselves. Holy wow. And from Lesson 9, Beloved, 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 that which you so earnestly desire will never be found by your seeking it through the mental side alone, any more than it has heretofore been found through the emotional side alone. Intuition and intellect are meant to travel together. Intuition, always holding the reins to guide intellect. Where do you find your intuition, people? Oof. Bring your hands there if you'd like. You don't have to. Intuition guiding our intellect, not the other way around. If you have been thus far, Emily continues, on the way cultivating and enlarging only the mental side of truth, you need to let the mental reasoning side rest a while. And learning how to be still, listen to that which God will say to you through the intuitional part of your being. The light that you so crave will come out of the deep silence and become manifest to you from within yourself, if you will but keep still and look for it from that source. So I thank this community because without you, those are words I might not have come across. What a gift you are to me as I study unity and weave that into where my heart has been fed in my spiritual journeying. Unity is a movement for spiritual growth, for ongoing spiritual growth, where we take the soil of what has been, we live it in the now, and we bring it with us into the future. So perhaps here is our simple lesson. Study, think, learn the mental side of truth. Our minds are a gift where we can think big thoughts. But I don't know about you, but sometimes my mind also likes to think dizzying spirals of thoughts that are actually less than helpful. Sometimes that mental energy comes out as judgment, self-judgment, judgment of those beings that I find easy to see the divine essence in them. So learning how to spend time in stillness. Spend time listening to that which God will say to us through our hearts. And sometimes that voice is so quiet that the only way we can hear it is if we ask that beautiful, active mind to pipe down. Go sit on the penalty bench for a few minutes and just be quiet. Listen to the voice of the Holy One in morning bird song, in neighborhood noises, in the barks and purrs and snores of our beloved four-legged friends. So fun to have Chloe with us in person today. In the face of all this joy, all these sorrows, all this promise and all this pain, take shelter. Offer shelter in the warmth of community. And if, or really when, community does not feel warm, because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes our communities of family, our communities of this family, do not feel welcoming. And in those moments, perhaps we can ask, instead of, why me? Why this? Maybe we can ask, what now? What is here for me to learn from? As we lean in together to live the truth that we are wisdom, we are love, we are light, and we are in the shelter of each other because we create that shelter together with God. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.